Yeah, exactly what Nist said. There's nothing worse than a game that fully believes you're on the same page when you're really not. Right? And there are a lot of games that tell a story about a character that I do not relate to at all, but the way they tell it is it's just a movie that I'm watching, which is fine. Whereas a lot of other games, it's like you had to have been there and gone through the same thing or like really relate to it for it to hit in any way. And I think I don't like writing like that. I don't know. It's just my personal opinion. I think that's not good writing, because good writing is being able to take any character, any situation, whether they're like the viewer or not, and having that person watch it and understand it and feel something from it. Which, you know, if something is written well, you could just do that. Like I've completely not related to a lot of characters from media, but because the writing's so good, I love those characters and I love the story. But I think a lot of people that write for games are not primarily writers, right? That's not their main thing. It's just something that they have to do to get the game across. And I think it just ends up kind of like they fumble because their story's really good, but again, only something that makes sense if you also were there. Right? And I think stuff's best when you're given all the pieces and context to relate. Exactly. So JRPGs will change your life. I like a lot of JRPGs because it's the same thing that I was saying. Like, even if I don't relate to the character, usually the writing's so good, and it's like watching a movie. You're just seeing characters go through something, and you're just watching a story, and that's fine. You don't have to like be immersed to the point where you see yourself in the characters to feel anything from it. So, you know, a lot of the time, it's really good. It's really good. You said life is strange as writing feels awkward, though. It's almost as if the writers are simply guessing what teenagers deal with. It feels off. Yeah, like very... Yeah, I was going to say exactly what Chancellor said, like hello, fellow kids kind of thing. I felt that too. I hated Life is Strange. I was so excited for the game when it was announced because they were talking about the mechanics of the game and not the story in the early trailers. They were like, look, you go back in time and it does choices, whatever. And I love like visual novels, things like that, you know? So I was like, oh, that's so cool. I'm going to love this. And then I get into the game and I hated the story. I hated the characters. It felt very shallow and like pretend deep. And I felt like the way they were writing these characters was just a mix of surreal, not realistic, and also a bit like condescending. Like every character made the worst decision every time, right? That's how I felt about it. Poo poo caca. I don't know. It just was like, it felt like they were making fun of teenagers a little, which is not like what the intent was at all, for sure. But I was looking at it and I was like, do you really think every young person is this fucking stupid? Do you think every teenager is just like hounding to be different and to defy people and blah, blah, blah? You know, it's just something about the way it was written. I was like, there's so much assumption here that really bothered me. Yeah, Chloe getting mad at Max no matter what she picks. Right. There's no recourse in all these situations too. And I was like, ugh. I don't know. It felt like a 90s movie about teenagers, but even more poorly written. Yeah, and then they have like drugs and alcohol is the main thing. And I'm like, I know some kids get into this stuff, but like, I don't know. It just felt like I was being forced through a story that I didn't care about. So I just didn't like the game. And I played through the whole thing. I had to put it down, and I went and picked it back up to get through it at some point because I wanted to give it a really fair chance. And I just finished it and was like, I don't like this. I don't know. It was a cool concept, but I don't know. You really never clicked with that idea of teenhood? Yeah, for me, when I was like a teenager, I didn't want to defy my parents, really. If they did something, made some decision, said something that I didn't like, I had really nice parents that I could sit down and talk to and have a conversation with. And sometimes the answer from them was still no or whatever, but they would sit down and be like, I'm going to explain to you why, so you understand, so you know I'm not just saying no, fuck you, you know? And like, I just got raised that way, you know? And there were plenty of terrible moments, whatever, as every teenager has, but like, I don't know, I was just chill. I was chill. I was offered alcohol. I was offered drugs. And I was just like, nah, I'm good. End of story. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I don't really mind waiting, to be honest. like it wasn't a big deal to me. So I hate when like every story, it has to be such a horrible, troubled thing going on with every teenager. I'm like, I understand that these stories are prevalent and should be told here and there, but at the same time, there are plenty of us that had very nothing, mundane upbringings as far as that stuff goes, right? So I don't know. They kind of go like, they're sad, so you have to be sad. Right. There's a lot of people with that attitude that like things didn't go great for them, so they have to tell everyone about it, and they have to make other people also be sad, or you know, whatever. There's a lot of that in this world, I find, and yeah, I don't fuck with that. For lack of a better term, I don't fuck with that. No, thank you. No, thank you. You know, obviously I've had a very mundane time in my life. I've also had some really, you know, the opposite, some terrible times, whatever. I don't feel the need to tell people all about it and bother them about it. And if they can't relate, be like, oh, you just don't get it, you know? You know, it's not necessary. You're gonna dye your hair neon color and cry while writing your next indie game. It's time.
Happy 1
Make a game called Life is Weird. Guessing they wrote what they know. I guess so, but I don't know. It just felt forced. Because the other thing is, there are plenty of times I've interacted with some piece of media. I've watched a movie, read a book, whatever, that is about troubled youth, and I've not been bothered by it. You know what I mean? Like, I've many times not been bothered by media. So why was I bothered by that game? It's because it didn't feel genuine. I don't know. Something about it didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel right.